All right. So the main discussion of today, we're going to be talking about NFL contracts. This is a pet peeve of mine. So basically, this topic arises every year at about this time of year. NFL players, they sign these 4-year rookie contracts. So I don't know the ins and outs of the NFL contract system. The American contracts, they're quite confusing because you can be on like 20 million. You can get paid 20 million, but only 10 million goes to the salary cap, or you can be paid 30 million first year and then the fifth year you get 20,000. It's very confusing, but to the core, rookie contracts are about 4 years with like a fifth year option. Yep. So what often happens is you get a superstar in their third or fourth year playing on a rookie contract and in a position like a running back or even a wide receiver where your prime is pretty young. You're often in your prime on rookie price, on a rookie wage. So like you've got Philip Lindsay, who's probably arguably in the prime of his career. I think it's his third year, might be his fourth. He is only on $750,000 a year. Meanwhile, you've got David Johnson, who's way worse than Philip Lindsay. He's like 31 or something. He is just casually earning like $11 million or something.
Yeah.
So
it's outrageous.
There's got to be a change because although each year the league sorts itself out, the players eventually come back, they agree to their club. But as a fan, I'm sick of this every single year. Like, you know, the case of Dalvin Cook this year, mate.
Yep.
Yeah, one of the league's top running backs. He looks like he's pretty confident on his holdout. He doesn't want to come back till he gets a deal sorted. It happened last year with Zeke. He, I think, missed the first game maybe, or he might have got it signed just a couple of days before the first game.
He got it signed, yeah.
Melvin Gordon missed 3 or 4 weeks, I think, through holdout. And yeah, it's starting to become a big deal. What do you think about it?
Well, I think at the moment with players like Dalvin Cook, franchises are starting to place a bit less value on the running back position and valuing the offensive line more. So I think they're getting less and less willing to pay running backs the big bucks. But
yeah,
as well as that, I think it's outrageous that players can just not play. Like it just shows there's absolutely no loyalty to your franchise, that they're all just doing it for money.
Yeah.
But yeah, Dalvin Cook especially, he does deserve a much bigger contract than what he's on at the moment.
I'll be honest, I take the players' side on this. Like, as you were saying, it's pretty dog what they do. They basically hold the franchise by the balls, and they're basically like, well, if you don't pay me, you don't have a running back this year.
Yep.
It's pretty dog. But I think the Last Dance, I don't think you've seen it, have you?
No, I haven't yet.
The Michael Jordan. Scottie Pippen, he signed, I don't know, an 8-year deal or something on a rookie contract or a very low-paying contract.
Yeah.
And by 7th or 8th season, he was a top 10 NBA player, and he was like the 125th highest paid player. So, and he had like 7 siblings, 2 parents. They were from like the streets, like they didn't have much money at all. So he held out, and then he eventually left because they wouldn't re-sign his contract or something like that. It was kind of confusing, but I don't know. From that just kind of put into his perspective, it is pretty unfair on these players. Like, I know we were saying they have no loyalty, but then you can also say the franchise doesn't have loyalty if they're not willing to fairly pay them.
Yep.
Because even like Alvin Kamara, he's on $950,000 this year. He is easily a top 5. Well, arguably, he's probably a top 5 running back, basically. So he does not deserve to be on that. And although it's likely that someone that good is eventually going to get extended, a re-signing, or they're going to go somewhere who pays them well, like that off chance is just frightening for a player that they do their ACL or that they just lose it this year and then no one wants to pay them the big bucks. And then it turns out they've just played 3 years at a high level of NFL, but they haven't earned a sustainable wage from it. So it's definitely a tough issue. I think obviously they're not going to look at Australia to sort this out because they don't even know Australia exists in the United States. But they've got to do something like the AFL. Like, I've never seen a holdout in AFL ever.
Yeah.
And I do think it's less likely to happen in a game with more players, because the NBA, there's only 5 players on the court, so 1 or 2 players can have a really dominant impact. And then the NFL, like a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, they can, by them saying I'm not going to play, they can like change the game. Where if, I don't know, from Port Adelaide, if Brad Ebert goes, I'm not playing, it's like, yeah, right, sweet.
He'll be on his way. He'll be on his way to free agency.
So it is hard to compare, but the rookie contracts are just way too long. Like, you shouldn't be able to sign a 4-year rookie contract. It shouldn't be a thing. Like, you should be able to sign 2 years max, I reckon. I'm pretty sure the AFL, it's 2 years, and then you can re-sign whenever you want.
Yeah.
So, like, I don't know exactly, but I think Ben King, he re-signed like 3 months into the first season. But yeah, they've got to sort out something, because especially the running backs are the most affected. Quarterbacks not so much, because they play till they're 40.
Yeah.
Well, the good ones. So their like second, third, and fourth contracts are ridiculous, where they're earning $20 million plus a year. But even like Gardner Minshew, he might not be a starter ever again after this season, and he's rolling into this year as a $700,000 player. So they've definitely got to sort this out, because, especially as a fantasy coach, but a fan and a human, like, it's starting to piss me off, because this happens every single season, and it's just like, we're going nowhere. Like, no solutions being thought of. No one's thinking long term. Everyone's just going a case by case. Should we pay him? Should we not? So yeah, I definitely think something has to take place. The only thing is, without being mean, like, the NFL, they're pretty like obnoxious. They're a big business. They don't really care if a player is like feeling ripped off or whatever.
Yeah.
So it's going to be tough to like convince them to do something, and it's happening in a lot of sports. Like, I know the UFC, I know you don't know much about the UFC, but the UFC, you sign a deal, and instead of years, it's fights. So you can sign a five fight deal for $500,000 a fight, and then your head's just got me.
I've been holding in some smirks at your
just how dark your camera is. But anyway, that's absolute rubbish potty content right there for the listeners. Yeah, so it's like 5 fights, you get $500K a fight, and then after your fifth fight, you can renegotiate. But what's been happening a lot recently is the first 2 fights of a contract, they'll do really well. They'll like soar in the rankings. They'll become global stars. And then they try and renegotiate. They're like, oh, I'm not fighting for 500,000. I want 2 million. And then the UFC just goes, well, your contract says you have to have 3 more fights at 500,000. And then they're like, well, I'm not doing that then. I want more. And they kind of just do it case by case as well. So similar to the NFL. So it seems to be an issue I don't know if it happens in the NBA, if I'm honest, but it seems to be an issue in the NFL. I doubt it would happen as much in the NBA, because similar to like quarterbacks, they play pretty long careers and stuff like that. But yeah, it definitely needs to be addressed. It doesn't affect the players who were taken early. I know Kyler Murray, he was like paid heaps last year, I'm pretty sure, and because he was the number 1 pick. But people who were taken later and turn out to be guns, they are, well, like, I know it sounds ridiculous complaining about $700,000 a year, but when you consider like the market rate for what your job is like 10 million, 15 million, it's pretty wrong.
I think
how do you fix it?
Well, before that, it's another thing that's stiff on the players in the NFL is that it's a lot of it is luck because with Zeke, he was like the only good running back on the Cowboys list. So obviously they were going to give him a contract. But now Cook, they've got two like pretty solid backup running backs behind him, and he's already had an injury history.
Yeah.
So he's got absolutely no leverage with the Vikings.
Yeah.
So,
and also the injury past, just makes it worse because both parties are like more stubborn because they're like,
yeah,
why would we go out and renegotiate when you could do your ACL this year and never be able to play again? And then he's probably arguing the exact same thing, saying like, well, I don't want to walk away from an NFL career having only earned $2 million.
Yeah.
In case I get injured. So the injury thing doesn't help. And yeah, as you said, it definitely depends on your situation. But yeah, pretty much all the situations are pretty dog.
Yeah. And the Broncos signing Melvin Gordon is so dog to Philip Lindsay.
Yeah.
I honestly reckon Lindsay's a better pure running back than Melvin. But now he'll just not get on the park at all just because they're paying Gordon like $8 million.
Yeah.
But yeah.
And like another thing is if you see with LeVeon Bell, it also like ruins a lot of players' career because he held out in the 2017 or 18 season with the Steelers. They weren't willing to renegotiate his contract or meet his terms or whatever. I don't know the specifics. So he just didn't rock up. And then he went to the only place, or I don't know if it was the only place willing to sign him, but the place willing to give him the most money or whatever he wanted. And he's gone to the Jets, and he looks like he's completely lost his ability.
Yeah.
And now one of like the league's best running backs in the last like 5 years is just like rotting at a bad team. So
yeah. But that's
definitely
that kind of shows that the offensive line is probably more important than having an elite running back.
Yeah, it's true.
Even elite running backs can, and with Saquon, he has games where he gets like no yards because he's just getting nothing from his O-line.
Yeah, and it's definitely, I think it would be an issue in other positions, but I'll be honest, I haven't heard much about it in other positions. But yeah, as you said, the running back is the main thing because the players don't usually have much leverage because when the time comes, the club, as you were saying, for like Cook, they might just go, oh, well, I'm pretty happy with Madison, if I'm honest. And like he looks to his assistant coaches and they're like, yeah, sorry, brother. You've just like, been one of the best running backs in the league for 1.5 years and you were paid a rookie contract and you can just cop. But it's very stiff.
Yeah.
So it's a tough one to fix because it's like a systemic issue. Like they genuinely have to change the contract structure of the NFL. But I honestly think if you just made it a rule that rookies can't sign more than 4-year contracts, like I don't see who's losing. I don't see who's losing out there because that way, I just don't get it because the 4-year contract was probably actually brought in to benefit the player. Like, so they were more secure, had more guaranteed money because they don't get paid in college. So, like, they sacrifice a lot. And at that point in time, they haven't earned a single cent. So, like, they need to be secured 4 years salary. But then the 2-year, by changing it to 2-year, the player will benefit because then they'll be able to renegotiate, like, in their prime and they'll have more leverage. But then if you look at it from another angle, I'm sure, see, as I was saying, I don't know too much about this contract situation. I mainly only know the high-profile cases and the ins and outs of those ones. But I'm sure the 4-year rookie contract benefits a lot of players who don't get as much game time and might not get re-signed by an NFL team. Yeah. Because as I was saying, they don't get paid in college. So if they changed it to 2-year contracts, someone got paid $500,000 for 2 years and then they got cut and never picked up again. Like that is pretty stiff.
Yeah.
But then that's that's life.
Before,
Like, if you're not good enough to make it, you can't just be given money.
yeah, I'm sure the 4-year thing, having money guaranteed for 4 years, will make a lot of players just sit back and
Yeah,
and then
100%.
and then they just won't become good.
Yeah. Or another way, that another solution they could look at. This has always been heavily discussed, but they could make it legal to make money in NCAA. So, because colleges make so much money from like attendance, car parking, like there's so much concessions, like there's so much stuff. Like they get like 110,000 to some games, like,
Yeah,
and the players can't earn a cent in order to be eligible to play in the college system. So that would probably be another way, because if they've been paid for 4 years prior to them coming in the NFL, then, like it'll be less of an issue that like they need to be paid more, if you know what I mean,
yeah,
after their 4 years, because they've already had 8 years of being paid if they played the full 4 years of college. But then it's tough because the issue might just roll down to the college system, and then there might be holdouts in like the senior year of college. So
yeah.
I don't know.
True.
But as you were saying, at the end of the day, there just needs to be a bit more common decency from the players and the club, like the franchises. Like the players need to just be like, well, I'll just keep playing for you because I'm under contract and that's what you're paying me to do, even if it's a little bit unders. And then I'll just have I'll put the faith in you that you won't dog me.
Yeah,
Like that's how it should work. But like I understand both sides of the coin, and it's a tough one. But I really do think they need to fix the 4-year thing, because I'm sure a lot of players, well, like this holdout rubbish is just stupid. I'm getting sick of it.
yeah. I agree. They should definitely reduce it.
Yeah, were you saying today that Joe Mixon might be holding out as well?
Yeah, Mixon's recently threatened the holdout as well, but I think he's not. He's asking for less than what Cook's asking for, so
Yeah,
it's a bit. He should,
yeah.
just get it.
I was looking before, and Mixon's on like 1.5 mil. So I don't know what's going on
That's
there.
more than Cook, isn't it? Right?
Yeah, Cook was only on like 700 or something.
Yeah, but then you've got just straight up shit running backs who aren't first string on like 5 mil.
Yeah, like Giovanni Bernard, the Bengals running backs on 4.5 or something.
He's back up to Mixon, and he's earning 5 times as much as him.
Yeah, so there's genuine like issues with the system. So like the whole rookie contract thing does need to be fixed.
Yeah. But another thing is, when these running backs get the big contracts, they often, well, it seems like they sit back a bit, because David Johnson, as soon as he got his, he turned into a pile of shit. Same with Melvin Gordon to an extent.
Yeah.
We'll see what he does this year, but
Lev Bell looks like he's done that.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so no, it's a tough one. But then you can argue if they just fix the contract thing, that won't happen, because they'll get the big bucks in their 3rd year, which is arguably a running back's prime.
Yeah.
Because they're getting the big bucks past their prime, like it doesn't make sense.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, only the very best running backs are still good when they're like in their 6th and 7th seasons.
Yeah.
Like the only one that comes to mind is like Adrian Peterson, Frank Gore, LaShawn McCoy. They're like the only ones.
Yeah, and they're like all-time running backs.
Those 3 are like in the top 10 rushing yards. So yeah, it's like a genuinely cooked system, and they definitely need to fix it. And also, another difference between Australia and USA that makes it a bit tough, a lot of these players come from nothing. So, like, they need more money to secure their family and stuff, where, like, half the AFL gets drafted from the APS. So, like, they're not really that desperate for money and stuff. But, yeah, no, it's a tough issue. It's always a bit hard to, get, like, ethics and economics merging.
Yeah.
Because, like, you kind of need both sides to almost sacrifice their actual market value a little bit just to be a good bloke. But
yeah, it's never going to be possible to completely satisfy both sides.
Yeah. Yeah. No. But then, like, there's 31 other teams in the league. So, like, if you really believe you're worth what you think you're worth, then arguably someone should come get you.
But I guess they do have, like, if Cook was to not play, he'd be fined his entire yearly salary.
Yeah, each week.
There's no point.
Each training session, you get fined pretty much.
Yeah, so there's no point doing that.
Well, that's why Melvin Gordon came back.
Yeah.
Because I think it's like week 7. If you don't come to training before week 7, you get fined like your whole annual salary or something. But then if it's before, then you just get like a training by training fine. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the Chargers didn't give him his cash. I think they just said, no, you can just leave next year.
Yeah.
But
I don't know why the Broncos did it, to be honest.
Yeah. And then the contracts are just soaring every year. Because each year the holdout, like last year Zeke got paid ridiculous amounts.
Yeah.
Then this year Dak will get paid ridiculous amounts, and then they just keep getting exponentially more and more. So like the holdouts are just going to be more common. So they definitely need to fix the rookie contract length. Is basically what this all boils down to. Or the college system. They allow them to make some money from that.
Yeah.